Fear arises when someone finds their voice and refuses to bow down. Charlie has built his life on speaking truth into spaces where silence is demanded. Those who benefit from silence fear the sound of truth because it threatens to dismantle the systems they've built. His voice reminds people they are not powerless, and that terrifies those who depend on control. Silence has always been the greatest weapon of control. When people are quiet, when they suppress their questions, when they bury their convictions, those in power are safe. But the moment someone chooses to speak, really speak, the walls begin to shake. Charlie is feared not because he shouts louder than others, but because he refuses to trade his voice for acceptance. Silence is comfortable, it keeps relationships easy, it avoids conflict, and it allows people to fit neatly into the expectations placed upon them. But silence also comes with a price. It gives permission for lies to stand unchallenged. And Charlie has made a decision many are too afraid to make. He will not pay the price of silence. Every time he speaks, he unsettles systems that rely on quiet compliance. He reminds people that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act in spite of it. And that is dangerous because courage is contagious. One voice refusing to be silent gives birth to 10 more voices, then 100, then thousands. They fear him because he teaches others that their voice matters too. His refusal to remain silent is more than personal conviction. It is an invitation to others. Stand up. Speak. Don't be hushed by intimidation or shame. That ripple effect is what truly terrifies those who thrive on silence. The most dangerous thing in the world is not an answer. It is a question. Answers can be memorized, repeated, and controlled. But a question opens doors, it cracks walls, it stirs the imagination. Those in power don't fear what Charlie knows. They fear the questions he dares to ask, and more importantly, the questions he inspires others to ask. From the time we are children, society trains us to obey without challenging the narrative. Don't ask too much, don't think too deeply, don't disrupt what has already been decided. That conditioning creates generations of people who follow rules they never agreed to, who live lives they never chose. But Charlie disrupts that pattern. He stands on stages, in interviews, and across campuses and says, why? Who decided this? Who benefits from this story being true? The reason people fear him is not that he provides answers, it's that he shakes the illusion that answers are untouchable. He creates space for ordinary people to reclaim their right to think, to wrestle, to challenge. And when people start questioning, they start waking up. When enough people wake up, control loses its grip. And that's the very thing his critics cannot afford. His courage to ask why becomes a mirror that forces others to face truths they'd rather keep buried. That is why they fear him. Not because he tells people what to believe, but because he empowers people to believe for themselves. There is nothing more unsettling to those who want control than someone who refuses to apologize for what they believe. Shame has become one of the most powerful weapons of our time. If they cannot silence you with fear, they will attempt to silence you with shame. They will label you, mock you, twist your words, and try to drag your reputation through the mud, not because you are wrong, but because you are unshakably clear. Charlie is feared because he does not flinch under the weight of those tactics. He doesn't trade his convictions for applause. He doesn't bend truth to win temporary approval. He has chosen to live unashamed, and that is radical in a world that thrives on conformity. When you refuse to carry shame, you strip the weapon from your enemy's hand. That's why his critics panic. They throw everything at him, ridicule, slander, rejection, and still he stands. His refusal to be defined by shame creates a ripple effect, teaching others to do the same. People watch him and realize if he can stand in his truth without apology, so can I. This is what terrifies those who oppose him, because once people are freed from shame, they are unstoppable. Convictions that are not for sale cannot be manipulated. A voice that cannot be silenced by ridicule becomes a beacon of courage. That's why they fear Charlie Kirk. He does not just hold convictions, that he lives them boldly, without shame and without compromise. Comfort is the quietest form of control. It whispers, stay here, don't rock the boat, don't ask too many questions. Life is easier this way. And so people trade their freedom for convenience, their courage for safety, their voice for approval. This is exactly why Charlie is feared, because he tells people the truth no one wants to admit. Comfort always comes with a cost. The cost of comfort is your independence. The cost of comfort is your ability to think freely. The cost of comfort is slowly surrendering control of your own life until you no longer recognize the chains that hold you. That truth is unsettling because it forces people to look in the mirror and ask, what have I been giving up just to stay comfortable? Charlie shakes people out of that sleep. He challenges audiences to trade temporary ease for lasting freedom. He knows that real growth, real impact, and real courage are never found in the warm embrace of comfort. They are born in discomfort, in the willingness to step into risk, to endure criticism, to challenge the status quo. And that is what terrifies his critics. Because when people awaken to the reality that comfort is a trap, they no longer accept the false peace handed to them. They demand more. They rise up. They reclaim their strength. Those who fear him know this. Once a person decides that comfort is not worth their chains, they can no longer be controlled. The truth is rarely destroyed. It is hidden. Hidden behind polished headlines, buried under carefully crafted narratives, disguised as half-truths. Those who benefit from secrecy fear anyone bold enough to pull back the curtain, and that's exactly what Charlie does. He calls out what others work so hard to conceal. Exposing lies is dangerous work. It means shining a light where others prefer the shadows. It means speaking aloud the things people whisper behind closed doors. It means risking criticism, mockery, even outright hostility, simply for refusing to play along with the performance. And Charlie embraces that risk because he knows hidden corruption survives only when no one dares to confront it. Every time he calls out what's buried, he forces people to confront uncomfortable realities. He doesn't do it for applause or popularity. He does it because truth cannot liberate anyone until it is seen. That is why his critics fear him. He refuses to let their secrets stay safe in the dark. And the more he exposes, the more people realize how long they've been deceived. When one hidden truth comes to light, others soon follow. People begin to question, investigate, and uncover for themselves. That ripple effect is unstoppable. And that's what terrifies those who profit from deception. Charlie is not feared because he invents controversy. He is feared because he exposes it. He doesn't create division, he reveals it. And once people see what's really there, they can never unsee it again. The most revolutionary belief you can hold is this: ordinary people are capable of extraordinary impact. Those who fear Charlie understand this well because their entire system of control depends on convincing people they are powerless, too small to matter, and dependent on authority. Charlie flips that narrative on its head. He looks into the eyes of students, workers, parents, and everyday citizens and tells them, you are not weak, you are not insignificant, you are the strength of this nation, you are the future. And when people hear that, they really hear it and something shifts inside them. They begin to believe in themselves, and that spark is unstoppable. The reason this is feared is simple. Empowered individuals are hard to control. A person who realizes their voice matters will speak. A person who realizes their choices matter will act. A person who realizes their courage matters will inspire others to rise with them. One spark becomes a fire. One empowered person becomes a movement. Those in power fear Charlie not because of what he can do alone, but because of what he inspires millions to do collectively. He plants the belief that greatness is not reserved for the elite. It is the birthright of every individual willing to rise above fear. And when ordinary people begin to live as extraordinary leaders, systems of control collapse. That's why they fear him, because he doesn't just carry influence, he awakens it in everyone he meets. Criticism is the cheapest form of control. When people cannot silence your voice, they will try to stain your name. They will call you dangerous, extreme, divisive, not because those words are true, but because labels are easier to throw than arguments are to defend. Most people break under that weight. They fold, retreat, and change who they are just to avoid being misunderstood. Charlie is feared because he refuses to play that game. He understands a powerful truth. Critics only have as much power as you give them. He doesn't let their insults rewrite his identity. He doesn't hand over his self-worth to people who don't know his heart. Instead, he stands firm, rooted in conviction, unshaken by the noise around him. This resilience sends a dangerous message to those who want him gone. You cannot define me. And that message spreads. It teaches others to stop giving their power away to critics, to stop measuring their worth by applause or rejection. That kind of freedom is contagious, and that's exactly what terrifies his opponents. When critics see that their attacks don't diminish him, but actually amplify his reach, they panic. They realize that every insult, every headline, every attempt to cancel him only makes him stronger. And in that moment, they recognize the truth. A man who cannot be defined by his critics cannot be controlled by them either. That is why they fear Charlie Kirk, not just for his words, but for his refusal to let those words be twisted into chains. Fear is the weapon used to keep people in line. It shows up in the form of threats, intimidation, isolation, and the constant reminder, step out of place and you'll pay the price. Most people retreat when fear comes knocking, but Charlie does the opposite. He doesn't run from it, he transforms it. He takes the very thing meant to stop him and uses it to push him further. This is why he is feared, because you cannot control someone who has learned to turn fear into fire. Every attempt to silence him only makes his voice louder. Every attempt to cancel him only expands his influence. Every attempt to intimidate him only strengthens his resolve. His critics throw obstacles in his path, but instead of retreating, he uses those obstacles as stepping stones. And here's the most dangerous part. People are watching. They see him endure attacks, opposition, and ridicule. They yet still stand, still speak, still fight. That resilience teaches them something revolutionary. Fear doesn't have to be the end. It can be the beginning. When people see him transform fear into fuel, they realize they can do the same in their own lives. That ripple effect is what terrifies those who oppose him. Because if one man can turn fear into fire, millions of others can too. And once people no longer fear being silenced, they become unstoppable. Charlie is not feared because he avoids fear. He is feared because he has mastered it. And in doing so, he has shown the world that fear is not a wall, it is a door. And beyond it lies freedom, courage, and transformation. They don't fear Charlie Kirk because of his platform, his popularity, or his position. They fear him because he has chosen a path most people are too afraid to walk. He refuses to be silent. He gives people permission to question. He stands in his convictions without shame. He exposes the hidden cost of comfort. He calls out what others keep buried. He believes that ordinary people can do extraordinary things. He refuses to be defined by his critics. And above all, he turns fear itself into fuel. Each of these truths alone would be powerful, but together they form a force that cannot be contained. He is not simply one voice rising against the tide. He is a spark that ignites countless others. And that is what truly terrifies those who oppose him, not just who he is, but who he awakens in the hearts of those who listen. So the question is not why they fear Charlie Kirk. The real question is this: if they fear one man with courage, imagine what will happen when millions find their voice, stand in truth, and refuse to bow to fear. That is not just his mission, it is a movement. And movements cannot be silenced